Ah, wild turkey night again.
One of the most important things about making games is a computer, and currently my computer is out of commission. Because of this, I need something to develop a game that doesn't involve my PC. I have an Android tablet that has Godot 3 on it, but I would rather put toothpicks under my toenails and kick a wall than develop a game using that thing. Besides, I use Godot 4 on my computer, so I wouldn't even be able to use the code that I make on my tablet. And by the time I finished a single line of code on that thing, I'd be in bones in a box anyways. So, I have an idea on how to fix my situation. Today, now there are apps on the App Store specifically for making games on your phone if you don't have a PC, or you don't want to code, or you just want to be mobile while developing. So today I'm going to be trying them all out to see if they're actually worth your time and how useful they actually are if you want to develop a game on your phone, instead of an actually sensible option like a Samsung fridge. See these apps right here? These are what I'm going to be using in this video. Now keep in mind, I'm on iPhone here, so if there's an app you want me to use but it's only on Android, I'm gonna bust your f***ing knees. Now let me know in the comments if you're interested in an Android App Store version of this video or something else you want to suggest. Now I'll be rating these based on utility, ease of use, shareability, and whatever else I want to rate them on, since it's my video and not yours. They will be rated on a scale of 0 to 6 brinks. If you think any of my ratings are bad and decide that you hate me, please remember that I don't care. Now without further ado, let's get into this. You read the title card. Epic Game Maker is the first on our list. It's got a simple UI and a no-nonsense main menu that gives you the settings to change the audio options and remove ads and the standard stuff. There are two options to play. One, of course, being to make the game you want, and then the other is to play levels that other people have created and upload to servers. The level editor isn't that bad, but it could be better. You've got a decent list of playable characters and enemies, along with a tile set and items for the player to collect or interact with. And finally, there's an option to change the background to one of the preset background options. There's also the option to change the UI size, which is a surprisingly left out feature for games with level editors and games in general, really. From what I did, it seems like a really easy way to just make a small little game or just to play around. And it could be used to prototype level layouts for your own platformer if you really want to do that. Once you're done with your level, you could upload it onto the server so that other people could play it if you really wanted to share it with the world. Now there are some downsides to this editor too. There is ads all over the place, and I even needed to watch 2 in a row at one point. But of course, that isn't really an issue if you have the cash to spare to remove them. There's also only one tile set from what I saw, which also, the art style is all over the place, with some assets being standard textures while others looking like they use vector art, and even the characters being pixel art. And all those clashing art styles just makes whatever you're trying to make look all over the place and eye-watering. You're also only limited to being able to make a 2D platformer game, so if you want to make a top-down game or even an isometric game, then this isn't the app for you. Overall, Epic Game Maker does have its flaws, and they could be an issue if you care about the art and perspective of your game, and don't get me wrong, most developers do. But it is good for when you only have 10 minutes or you're like a kid or something and you need to get your development fixed for the day. Or if you want to prototype a game and you're too lazy to move from your bed to your computer. Overall, I give Epic Game Maker a 2.5 out of 6 brinks, just because it could be useful in a lot of situations, but it's also not too useful if you want to do something more than just a 2D platformer real quick. On to the next app, which is ReadyMate. Now this one is certainly a trip. It has a simplistic UI and basically no clutter on the main menu. So much so that there's not even a settings menu if you're fiending for some settings to change. Once you get into the editor, you're immediately overwhelmed by tons of different components to work with, but that just means there's tons of stuff for you to use to make the game you want. Ready Maker is a little more involved than the last one, with you needing to actually make functions and assign physics and behaviors and that sort of thing. It's pretty obvious that this was made with children in mind, since all of the pre-installed assets are PG, I guess you could say. Which isn't bad necessarily, but you do have the option to upload your own assets, just in case you don't like what the editor already gives you. I couldn't find an option for animated sprites though, so things may look flat depending on what you're going with for your game. Contrasting that though, the control options are really good, with you being able to choose from 4 to 5 different options and then adding a jump button later and some other stuff too if you really wanted to. Then the functions, or events in this case, are pretty easy to use as well. Just click the options you want and you'll get what you need eventually. Unless what you need is a variable, because I couldn't for the life of me figure out how to use the variables in this thing. Finally, the ability to share is available, since you can just send people a link to your game, and when they click it they'll get sent to the app if they have it installed, which definitely could be useful in some situations. Overall, as long as you don't mind some oversimplification of some of the systems, Ready Maker is a fairly capable game development app that could definitely be useful for making a game prototype, or even a full game if you have the time. It definitely has its shortfalls, but in total, it's more good than bad. I'll rate it 3 out of 6 brings. Now, next up. Now, here's a mobile game development engine with some chest hair. Let's just start with the main menu. There are 8 different pages with a bunch of different things on them. To start with, we got the project menu, the asset store, more on that later, the settings menu, the education page, which is pretty cool, and even a community page. When we go onto the project page and click create project, the first thing we're greeted with is a whole bunch of options for this project. We've got things for the window size, ranging from a bunch of different options to even having a custom size for it, to even making a pre-made scene with AI. And if you don't even want to deal with any of this, you have a bunch of different templates you can choose from to, again, easy starting point right away. Once you finally get into the project, there are even more options to make your game with, because we've got scenes, instances, nodes, UI elements, and even global objects. And when it comes to nodes, this bad boy doesn't skimp out. There's over 20 different nodes I could all see being used at once in a project. There's even 9 patch sprites and particle emitters, for Christ's sakes. And if you don't like what you already have here, you can also go to the asset store, which has assets of course, nodes, you name it. Then you can add behaviors to all of these different nodes to make them work for what you want them to do, which is fairly easy. This engine is entirely visual just like the rest of them, but in this case it's not so bad since it's actually done really well and doesn't make me want to remove my thumbs. Also, the shareability for it is great, with the ability to export for iOS, Android, and PC with just a few taps of the screen. There is a few issues I have with this app though. For one, it really likes to crash and restart itself while I'm working, and this happens a lot, especially when I'm using the asset store for some reason. Another thing is that it needs internet for lots of stuff that you kinda need. Like, some connections will just not work no matter how many times you retry. Now, I could probably talk about GDevelop all day if I really wanted to, but I need to get onto the last app I'll be checking out here, so I'll be giving GDevelop 5 out of 6 brings. I actually recommend this one if you're interested in game development, but don't want to code and only have a phone for some reason. Just make sure you have a really good internet connection at all times. And now, last but not least, we have Julian's editing. Wait, why didn't it cut me off this time? Now, my first impression on this app was, who the hell is Julian? Followed closely by, wow, this is actually pretty good. But no, seriously, who is Julian? Can someone please tell me? The first thing you're greeted with is an avatar creation screen, which I was immediately disappointed with because it didn't have my exact outfit I was wearing in my body type. Getting through that though, and you're put onto the community tab, which I dare say is the best one I've seen so far. Even if you're able to tell that this is the side of game development that the furries have taken control of, it's nice to see more developers making things and being shooed away from the rest of development society, I guess. Next up is the shop, where you can buy assets and stuff, which is cool. And there's a variety of quality items, from genuine talent to mental illness and everything in between. I bought a GIF of a cat. On to game creation now, and this is actually pretty nice. There are 6 tabs with different stuff in them for you to mess around with, and the art style matches for all of them too, so nothing looks too out of place. Then, of course, you have the option to import more things to your heart's desire. For starters, you have some enemies, a few weapons, a heaping helping of tiles, and some other stuff you could use in development. When you start as well, you're given a couple of templates to choose from so you could just get started quicker, and it's pretty easy to make the things you want too. The editor is no code as well, and mostly all the typing you're going to need to do is changing some variables around to make things better. And it's nice to have an editor that actually has working variables for once, might I just say. Once again, I'm going to mention the shareability of these games, and it's not bad. Once you're finished, just publish the game. That doesn't really take much effort, and once you're done, it's already on the game servers, and it's easy as that. If you choose for it too, anybody could just go onto the community tab and click on your game and get to playing. Then at that point, you just got pretty good at that they actually enjoy your game. Now this is the section of this where I talk about the issues I have with the engine, but I don't really have that many. Maybe the menus are a little bit clunky sometimes, and there's some slight oversimplification areas that I don't think need to be oversimplified, but I don't really have that many issues with this engine. So I hereby arbitrarily rate it 6 out of 6 brinks. Wow, it is the only one to get that high of a score. All the others should be ashamed. And that's it. They're all rated. Here's all the editors and their ranks right here. These engines have actually showed me that not being able to code is not an excuse for not being able to develop games, since all of these apps didn't allow for coding at all. Alongside that, they all allowed you to put your game out there for the world to see in some way, shape, or form. And it's not like not having a PC is an excuse now either, since, well, did you not just watch this video? Now I have to figure out how to fix my computer monitor to edit this video, since there isn't a chance in hell I'm editing this on my phone. Like, yeah, making games, easy, done and done, but editing? Just kill me now, it would be less painful. Alright, I'm done here.